Hey guys, so in today's training, we're going to be talking about how does stress actually make us fat? So, because there's no calories in stress. So how does stress actually make us fat? We hear it all the time, to be wary of to be wary of stress and that'll make us fat, but nobody really talks about how it happens. And this is a question that I get asked all the time. And it's one that I used to ask myself when I began my own sort of work smarter, not harder fat loss journey, okay? And last week I did a video that really talked about how women can be burning more calories than they're actually eating and they are still not losing weight. And I talked about why that happens. And so, I got a lot of great feedback off of that. And I really just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into, how does that actually happen? How is it that you can be working out so much and just be so sure that I'm burning more than I'm eating, either because your watch says it or because you just know that you're moving around so much, or maybe your metabolic rate is is telling you you're burning 1,600 and you're only eating 1,000, and how can we just not be losing weight off that? So I don't know about you guys, but in order for me to take on a new belief and understand this stuff, I really need to understand why I'm doing it, why it works, how it works. And then I can start to implement the strategies to start, taking care of it. And so that was the case, when I started this whole journey, this work smarter, not harder journey. Is I figured out, okay, why, what's the science behind this? How does stress make us fat? And what do I need to do to start making sure that I'm not putting my body in a stressful position? I can burn more fat. So I became obsessed with understanding how this really happened and really understanding why so many fitness-loving women need to be really focused on stress and not food, especially over the age of 30, okay? We have so many people talking about, eat this, not that, how food makes us fat. And, we have very few people really talking about how stress makes us fat, and even fewer people talking about how it actually happens, or at least understanding how it happens. So today we're going to be going over all of that. Okay. So before we get into the new stuff, I just want to cover from the old video. Remember that working out does not equal fat burning. Okay. And this is the reason why so many women really, they think that they're getting ahead because it feels like you're doing work. It feels like you're, the sweating and you're working hard. It feels like you're burning calories or burning fat, but you're actually not. In order to burn fat, you need 3 steps to happen. So first, step 1 is you need to release fat from the fat cell. So me just going like this, right? I'm releasing fat from the fat cell. So whenever you work out, that's what you're doing. And then any type of movement is going to move the fat into the muscle cell, which is a second step. So first you release the fat out of the fat cell, then that fat needs to be moved into the muscle cell to be burned, okay? And then the third step, and the most important step, is step 3 is that fat needs to enter the muscle cell to be burned, okay? So basically what's going on here is, first you got to release it, then you got to move it, then it's got to enter the cell in order for the fat to be burned. But what's going on with so many women, so many fitness-loving women, is stress is preventing step 3 from happening, okay? Stress is preventing step 3 from happening. So what you basically got going on here is you work out, you release the fat, you move the fat around, but boom, stress blocks it from actually getting into the cell to be burned, and you end up just going back to, storing the fat and then releasing. So basically women all day long, the ones that are just focused on eating well and working out, and they've got very busy lifestyles, they are basically just releasing fat and storing fat. Releasing and storing, releasing and storing. And so this is what's going on. This is why it feels like you're spinning your wheels, because you literally are spinning your wheels, okay? Now, what I want to bring your attention to is, what's actually going on to prevent this fat burning from actually happening, okay? And so basically, I think I'll go right here, if you guys can see that, hopefully. So basically what here's what you need to know. Stress is the same thing as insulin. So insulin, basically, stress is the same thing as blood sugar, okay? Because when we stress out, the body, it releases a bunch of adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, which basically releases a bunch of sugar into the bloodstream so that we have immediate energy to run or fight or flee or whatever. That's our body's survival instinct. Anytime it feels a threat, it has energy to take off and do the thing it needs to do. So when we stress out, we're releasing sugar from our liver into the bloodstream. So we've got, the more stressed out you are, the more sugar you have in your bloodstream. And you may very well be in diabetic levels, okay? Because you can be like a skinny diabetic or you can be a fat diabetic. But anyways, what happens is when you stress, you release blood sugar and then you release insulin to lower the blood sugar. This is normal. This is what should happen. Insulin gets released so that the blood sugar comes back to normal levels. But when you are in a constant state of stress, then you are constantly having this flux of blood sugar in the body, and it's sending the signal to the brain to release insulin. Hey, this is too much sugar. We got to bring the blood sugar back down. And so it releases insulin, but at some point this becomes the body stops listening. The body stops listening, and now you've got, a ton of blood sugar pulsing through your blood, but nowhere for it to go, because the body basically kind of puts on like what I call, it becomes desensitized. It's like a shield that, no food is getting into the cell because the body thinks that it doesn't recognize that, that there's a lot of food in the bloodstream. Okay. So it's kind of like when you the boy who cries wolf. Like if you just yell for danger so much, if your neighbor was yelling for danger all the time, eventually you would just be like, yeah, he's just doing his thing. Like at first you would have responded like, oh man, he's in danger. But if he's yelling danger, like he's screaming for help all the time, eventually you're just like, yeah, it just becomes immune, right? And so the same thing happens to the body, is that it just kind of gets immune to it. And so now instead of really doing what it needs to do to put you in a normal level, you're just in a constant state of high blood sugar, okay? And what happens is, at a cellular level, this is important to know at a cellular level, because this can be why you can be in a caloric deficit and still not losing weight, okay? So this is your cell, and basically, insulin and cortisol have two different jobs. Insulin's main job is to lower blood sugar, and then it also is a fat storing and locking hormone. So insulin is going to increase fat into the fat cell, and then lock it into place. And then cortisol also increases fat into the cell. And when insulin is combined with cortisol, that insulin actually blocks the release. It blocks fat burn from actually happening. Okay. And so this is what's going on with so many people is either there's too much cortisol, okay, which creates this resistance, too much insulin, and the body stops listening. Or it's the combination of insulin and cortisol, which is basically food and stress, which we can never get away from eating. So, this is kind of what we're always running into. Okay. And basically what you can think of here is when this is happening, you can think of it like a shield on your muscle cell, or like what my friend likes to call it is a dam. And when there's too much insulin and cortisol in the bloodstream, it's like there's a shield on the body and no food is getting burned. No fat is getting burned. There's a bunch of fat floating around your bloodstream, but none of it can get burned until you start to take stress off the system, until you start to take off that, lower that insulin, okay? So that's what's going on. It's essentially like a dam. In order to open the dam gates, we need to take stress off the system, and so that you can have the ability to burn fat again, okay? And so this is what's going on when you take a severely stressed out person and you put them on a low-calorie regimen, and they don't lose weight. Okay. And this is why you can be in such a severe caloric deficit, and not see any results. You could just be killing yourself in the gym and not see any results. Okay. These two hormones are causing you to store fat in not one, but three ways. Okay. Because insulin stores fat, cortisol stores fat, and then insulin actually blocks it from any fat being released. So it's like it's just a magnified fat storing effect is from insulin and cortisol. And so what really drives this? Well, eating less and exercising more is probably the biggest thing that the reason for, well, it's not the biggest thing, but it's one of the main things that causes this, okay? Another thing that, and the reason for that is because eating less is a stressor and then exercising more is a stressor, okay? Other things would be poor sleep, emotional stress such as anxiety, overwhelm, frustration, anger, sadness. So if you find yourself in a constant state of anxiety or frustration or anger or sadness, you're always feeling that like those just kind of like shit emotions, you're basically not in a very good fat burning state right there. You're preventing yourself from burning fat just by those emotions alone. Okay, so if you can imagine, like, this is so important, the emotional aspect of how you react to certain things in your life, instead of getting stressed out and anxious and frustrated all the time, learning how to train your reactions so that you can actually prime yourself to be in a fat burning state. That, along with making sure you know how to eat and work out in a way that doesn't cause this stress from you just spinning your wheels, okay? So this is what I teach in my FitChic Academy. I teach women how to lose fat through a very different approach, because the way that you're doing it most likely isn't working. And this is specific for women over 30 who love to work out, who are already working out and eating well and not seeing results. I teach you that stress is your issue, not food, not the workout. This is what you need to bring your attention to. So if you're tired of spinning your wheels and you're just like so fed up and you really want to figure this out once and for all, comment down below or send me a message or check out the link in my bio, and let's get you started. Like, let's help you, let's get you stop spinning your wheels and start seeing your hard work actually pay off. All right. So that's it, guys. I hope you learned something. Hope it wasn't too scientific for you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.